Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. There's a new article today from Daily Hodl titled XRP in the Crosshairs After Ripple Ruling, says Compound General Counsel Jake Chervinsky here. Now, the news really broke just the other day, and I covered that in another video, but there's new thoughts and commentary around this, and hence a brand new article today, and I found it fascinating, so I do want to run through this with you. I've also got some comments from the XRP community I'd like to share with you on Twitter, and I'm going to wrap up with this piece, which is unrelated but interesting nonetheless. It's from Cointelegraph, and it's titled, MIT Professor: Blockchain is good on its own, but not good for voting. And I found it fascinating because I've always been wondering, big picture, like if you could just fast forward decades down the road, or maybe you wouldn't even need to go that far, would blockchain technology, since it's encrypted, ever actually be used in any country, perhaps the United States where I live, for voting, to kind of curb all the problems that are associated with voter fraud and electronic voting booths? The concept's interesting to me. Now, I haven't really thoroughly researched that, so I don't have a firm opinion. I just think it needs to be researched, and I'd love to hear pros and cons for both sides to see if it makes sense. I have a suspicion, I've always had a suspicion anyway, that it would make sense here, but, again, that's just a suspicion not based on any sort of serious research there. But before we go any further here, if you would please delicately tap that like button, and if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP, well, thanks for stopping by. I'm so happy to have you here. Go ahead and subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel, where we make dreams reality every single day. All right, let's hop into the first piece now. XRP is on a firm trajectory toward a federal ruling on whether it is a security, according to Jake Chervinsky, General Counsel at crypto lending platform Compound. That means he's a lawyer. Jake Chervinsky is a lawyer. A judge greenlit a much-publicized unregistered security lawsuit against Ripple earlier this week, despite the company's attempts to get the case dismissed. Chervinsky says the ruling is a clear setback for Ripple, which is different than what I reported on the other day, but of course it all comes down to opinion. I covered the piece from Leonidas wrote from XRP Arcade, and despite the fact that he's a member of the XRP community, the way his writing came across as if he was trying to write as though he were as neutral a party as possible, even though, if you want to say biases at play, I don't blame you. You could say that about me, him, since we're all part of the XRP community, but it just seemed to me that he was trying to strike as balanced a chord as possible there, and he thought that it was at least a small victory for Ripple, since some of the motions were ultimately thrown out, as I reported the other day. Anyway, but Chervinsky seems to think that it's more of a clear setback. So you can take a look here. And so here's a quote. There's a lot going on here, but overall it's a victory for the plaintiffs. The securities claims survive. XRP stays in the crosshairs. And you can see, here's a tweet from XRP community member Arturo Portilla, who was formerly known as XRP Research Center, and he wrote, "Would you say that there are now more probabilities that they will end up actually discussing the nature of XRP?" And I believe Arturo, I believe he's also a lawyer, if I'm not mistaken here. Now, Jake Chervinsky responded, "Yes, and not just a probability. The major remaining issue is whether XRP was a security during the relevant time period." So it looks like, from his perspective, they're really going to be getting into the meat of this here. Now, Ripple says XRP exists independently of the San Francisco company and is not a security because investors in the digital asset are not shareholders of Ripple in any way. Ripple owns more than half of the total supply of XRP and has routinely sold portions of its holdings to institutional investors and on crypto exchanges. Crypto investors have long wondered whether the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission will weigh in on XRP. At this point, even if the SEC were to clearly state that XRP is not a security, Chervinsky says that would have no impact on the ongoing case against Ripple. I love getting insight from lawyers. So here's another quote from Chervinsky. "There are no proposed rules or regulations in the pipeline that would directly impact this case. The SEC also has no authority here. Remember, the SEC doesn't make the law. Even if they came out tomorrow and said they think XRP is a security, the judge wouldn't have to agree. I'd also caution strongly against assuming the SEC would have taken action by now if it thought XRP was a security. SEC enforcement moves slowly under the best of circumstances and may be on hold until this case wraps up. Okay, but here's the thing, because most of the case, if my timeline's not messed up, has been occurring within the last year and a half or so, towards maybe part of the later half of 2018, I want to say. So what's with them not taking action against, because they did take action against other ICOs from the 2017 era, so what's with that, and would that really be a reasonable thing to do? If so, that's fine, but to me, it just seems very peculiar that they could take all these other actions, but this one cryptocurrency that's been around for all of these years, they allowed to just completely go unchecked for almost an entire decade at this point. To me, that's just so, it just almost seems unfathomable. So, but it is what it is. Anyway, Ripple says the lawsuit could damage the XRP market. The company has argued in the past that classifying XRP as a security could have a severely negative effect on the third largest cryptocurrencies marketplace. The class action lawsuit was filed by Bradley Sostak, who accuses the company of illegally selling XRP as an unregistered security. Although the lawsuit is moving forward, U.S. District Judge Phyllis J. Hamilton dismissed claims of personal liability against Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse this week, as well as claims of false advertising against Ripple. A claim that Ripple violated California's state law was also dismissed, granting the plaintiff 28 days to refile that portion of the lawsuit in the state. And there you go. Let's go ahead and jump into this now. This is a tweet from Jake Cervinsky. He's the one that's just cited in the article there. He's a lawyer. And this is unrelated to what we just covered, but I came across this, so I thought I'd just highlight this anyway. And he tweeted this out on February 12th. He wrote, I first heard about Bitcoin in 2013, but didn't bother looking into it until 2017 when I saw an article about a new all-time high, which was $3,000. Many others have the same story. Like it or not, all-time highs convert more no-coiners than anything else. The bull market starts at $20,000. And I suppose to some degree that could technically be true for me. Now, I didn't come in under the, I didn't think that, the price of Bitcoin is so enticing. It's more so because there was so much action going around. An article, which was actually very negative, having to do with Ethereum, caught my attention. And then I was like, this is an interesting asset class that I know nothing about. I'll go ahead and jump in. And that's really all it was for me. So for me, it wasn't really chasing all-time highs. I certainly was not FOMOing into anything. I was, even back then, very long-term minded, even though I didn't understand pretty much anything about the asset class coming in, as nobody does, right, before you learn anything. But I think that there could be some truth to this. It's just kind of fun to think through. But as inevitably we reach all-time highs again as an asset class here, expect more of this. Be like, what? And some of the people that bailed out last cycle, maybe lost money, maybe they panic sold, be like, what? This is still around and it's back up, and then they're going to realize the folly of their ways, or maybe they won't. But this is how humans behave. FOMOing in and panic selling. It's not going to end. This is just how people behave. Next, here's a tweet from somebody named Shadow, at XRP Shadow, and I just came across this one. He wrote this: when Bitcoin goes to S-word, just know all maxis are welcome into the XRP community with open arms. We will gladly sell you our bags at $1,000 plus. No, look, I just thought it's kind of funny. So I don't know where the price of XRP is going. I don't pretend to know. I don't offer financial advice. I don't make price predictions, nothing like that. But I will say this: if Bitcoin does end up going extinct the way of the dodo, my favorite avian creature, well, I still don't think that even as XRP continues to thrive, as I suspect will happen, I don't believe that Bitcoiners are the true maxis. I don't think they're going to still want to have anything to do with XRP. From their perspective, it is taint. That's what I think anyway. But of course, people in the XRP community by and large are not ideologically driven as far as selecting what coins they think make sense to back. And so from that perspective, I think we'd all say, hey, the more the merrier, as long as you're not bad people. Come on in. All right, next, here's a tweet from Lance Lotelmonte. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Lance Lotelmonte 22 on Twitter. He tagged me along with some others here, and this is pretty cool here. If you're not driving, take a look. There's a picture of a coin. Now, we've all seen XRP and Ripple coins, actual physical metal coins that are really just novelties, but this one I thought was pretty cool here. So let me blow it up a little bit here. That didn't blow it up, damn it. I thought I was going to blow it up. Okay, it's a coin that says Ripple, and it's got the globe there. Well, the flattened out version of the globe. What's the term for that? Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it states, solving a multi-trillion-dollar problem, Ripple. I just thought it looked cool, so I thought I'd share it with you. And thank you very much for tagging me. I do appreciate it. All right, into the last piece now. MIT professor. Blockchain is good on its own, but not good for voting. Computer scientist Ronald Rivest has said that blockchain is not the right technology for voting, although it can find proper application in a number of other areas. Rivest delivered his opinion at the RSA Security Conference held in San Francisco earlier this week. Technology-focused news outlet ITWire reported on February 28th. Rivest, who is a cryptography expert and a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, called voting an interesting problem that requires a more stricter approach. That's a weird way of saying it. Is that even grammatically accurate? More stricter approach? Yeah, whatever. More stricter approach compared to many existing security applications. And he said, quote, blockchain is the wrong security technology for voting. I like to think of it as bringing a combination lock to a kitchen fire or something like that. It's good on its own for certain things, but it's not good for voting. According to Rivest, voting is an area that does not require high tech to work, and anonymity and secret ballots only complicate the process of audit. Blockchain technology really doesn't fit for a couple of reasons. One is that we have learned we need software independence, Rivest said, and further added, quote, and if you do use some technology, use the paper ballots to check on it, and you can do very well. We can call this software independence, so you don't need to trust the results because you trust some software. That's a dangerous path to go down if you don't need to go down that path, and with voting, we really don't need to. So far, he hasn't convinced me here. And as far as the part about anonymity, well, this doesn't have to be anonymous at all. And ideally, well, I say at all. There can be a record of it, technically, just like there is today a paper record. Not that that should be publicly listed, as it certainly is not. But in terms of being able to verify that the system works, if the code itself is ideally open source to whatever degree, then you could check and make sure that the cryptography is what it is purported to be, and that it can't be used for nefarious purposes, ideally anyway. And so I'd love to hear a counterpoint to this, though. But anyway, elaborating further on the matter, Rivest compared blockchain with garbage stored in forever. Once they've had the chance to manipulate your vote, it goes on the blockchain and never gets changed again, he concluded. Well, yeah, it depends on how the system works. And again, I'm not going to pretend as if I've thoroughly thought through this. I just want to hear pros and cons for both sides. But as far as that, I guess ideally it sounds like it should go to the blockchain and then forever be there. I'm not seeing how that's a bad thing, although technically you could make any sort of blockchain technology used for this do whatever you want. You could make it so that it could be retracted, just like you can have chain reorganizations on the Bitcoin blockchain, for example. I don't know that that's desirable. Again, I'm just thinking out loud here. But I still don't see that as terrible. So, again, I'm just saying, whether he's right or wrong, and again, I don't have a firm opinion, I'm just saying that although I do find this article interesting, it hasn't persuaded me to believe that it doesn't make sense to somehow use blockchain for voting in the future. But again, something I'd like to continue to think through. But that's it for this video. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!